In today's Culture Express, will AI replace humans even in music? The robot Teo Tronico faces off Italian classical piano virtuoso Roberto Prosseda. Speaking of Italian music, we'll talk about music composer Nicola Sunny, who dreams of using Chinese traditional instruments in his future compositions. And everybody was kung fu fighting. We take a look at a massive martial arts showcase this International Children's Day. That and more coming up next. Hello, welcome to Culture Express on CGTN. I'm Julian Walken in Beijing. Thank you for joining us. We begin today with a battle that is no longer science fiction. As we're heading into the era of artificial intelligence, the myriad positions humans hold might soon be taken over by AI. Yet many people agree that the field of art is among the last fortresses immune from AI's replacement. Yet the appearance of a robot pianist, Teo Tronico, might make us think twice before jumping to that conclusion. Teo can play the piano, produce and play MIDI documents from piano rolls recorded by past great pianists such as Ferruccio, Dante and Joseph Hoffman. On Thursday evening, Teo was in a competition against a human pianist here in Beijing. Take a look.
The stage at the Beijing Concert Hall was the competing arena. On one side of the ring was robot pianist Teo, born in Italy in 2012. And the other side was his human counterpart, Roberto Prosseda, a 43-year-old Italian pianist and musician. They were tested on almost every technique of piano playing. Each played works of great masters such as Chopin, Mendelssohn, Liszt, and Beethoven. Applause from the audience was used as the evaluation standard. In agility, accuracy, and duration, Teo smashed Prosseda, while in continuity, fortepiano, and expression, Prosseda won over Teo. Prosseda expressed his belief that machine can never totally replace a human in making music, even though we humans make mistakes.
I think mistakes are a treasure. We have to be proud of our imperfections. Of course, we have to try to improve through the mistakes, but we can learn from mistakes. The robot doesn't suffer. Even if a robot makes a mistake, the robot doesn't suffer about that. While we humans can learn much more from our mistakes, and we can be proud of that, you know. I think we don't have to look for perfection by itself. We have to look for enjoying emotional meanings of what we do. Music is just sharing of emotions, and this a robot will not understand yet.
Teo was designed and manufactured by Matteo Suzzi from Italy 6 years ago. He plays the piano through many dynamically controlled joints. His 53 fingers can move in an extremely fast and exact manner. Besides playing the piano and composing music, Teo can talk to and interact with us. He has rich facial expressions such as movements of head, mouth, eyes, and even eyelids and eyebrows. The piano battle is also part of the ongoing Meet in Beijing Arts Festival. Soe, CGTN.
And joining me in the studio right now is the Italian pianist Roberto Prosseda. Welcome.
Thank you.
Prosseda, what was it like playing against that robot Teo?
It's very challenging, of course. I'm proud of being human and of doing mistakes. Of course, the robot always criticizes me because I'm not doing exactly what is written in the score. While his playing is absolutely literal. He doesn't do anything different. But the result, you know, is
so, hence the big difference between the robot and our human
absolutely,
pianists are...
This robot is an educational tool. We do this show to explain the sense of music, the meaning of music as sharing emotions. We have to be aware of our emotions. And that's the difference between humans and robots.
Your awareness of emotions.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned, you know, our imperfections, which makes us stand out from the robots.
Yes, the robot, of course, says that human pianists are obsolete. They are too old. Because, of course, robot pianists don't do any mistake. But they cannot create an interpretation. They only can read the score in a literal way. And, of course, human musicians have to be creative, have to immerse themselves in the music, not just reading the score. That's the great difference. And of course, today it's very important to be aware of our human identity, which also means being not perfect. And let's not try to be like robots. Let's try to enjoy life, to be happy, not to be perfect.
We are different because we are imperfect. And having said that, with the development of artificial intelligence, there are people who are saying that robots will never be as good as humans because they don't have consciousness on the one hand and also creativity. And you also have another camp of people who are also saying that you know, robots, consciousness, including creativity, they originate from biology, which in turn originates from, you know, comes from chemistry, which in turn derives from physics on a quantum molecular level. So in a way, then I think maybe robots are just imperfect versions of ourselves. You know, and you having said that we are also imperfect because we're humans, then are we really different from robots? What's your take on that?
Of course, it's a very complex field. What I think is that what makes us different from the robots are the feelings. Now, of course, you can say that the feelings, the emotions, are numbers, are chemical reactions. This is also true. But it's not just that. I think that we are persons who can live in a way that makes us happy or unhappy. And I'm not sure that a robot will ever be able to be like us. Of course, they can copy us. They can look like us. They can react in a human way, but they are still not humans. And I think it's very important for us to be aware of our identity. And to be aware, again, of our emotions, you know, be able to listen to our moods, to share them, to be proud of them. That's a great difference, I think, from the robot.
And Theo, he's actually, he's not artificially intelligent yet, but he's capable of doing that in the future, right?
Yes. Theatronico is an hardware. Of course, we can embed softwares, new softwares in it, able to improvise music, for example, reacting to other musicians, or even, of course, changing the score, giving a kind of, let's say, individual version of the score. But this is always following some algorithmic, you know, orders which are in the program.
And I think so, in a way, if you think about this debate between artificial intelligence and humans, it's not really so much about what we are or what robots are not, as much as about that curiosity to find the inspiration, the source of the inspiration, the creativity, and also the invention that power our evolution as humankind. And speaking of evolution and creation, or Italian inventions at least, and certainly Italian music, the name Nicola Sunny comes to the fore. Our reporter Chi Jie sat down with a music composer, artistic director, and cultural manager to talk about his dreams of using traditional Chinese music instruments in his future compositions.
How do you define your own music?
My music is a mix between research, experimentation, and communication. I want to be poetic, also if I use new media, new technologies, but my goal is to join the listener, to join the audience, without using old-fashioned languages.
China and Italy are two countries with great cultural and historical traditions. How can this tradition meet today's contemporary music?
Well, I think contemporary music is an open world where story and contemporary life meet. And I like to use form of the past, of the ancient past, in my new research. Because there was a time in which we were more free and not obliged in the strong music of the scale of the sounds. So I found a lot of suggestion in the ancient music, And I think that Chinese music is still full of this interesting model and suggestions.
So are you going to explore more about Chinese traditional musical instruments?
This is my dream. I would love to know more about traditional music in China, Chinese traditional music, and also the instrument, because I think that in one sound of a traditional Chinese music there is a word of history, of poetry, of remembering, of souvenirs. And the sounds are very evocative, from the percussions to the plucked strings to the bowed sound to the winds. And I'm dreaming to write a piece for such instruments. I'm dreaming of an orchestra of Chinese instruments sounding like a contemporary musical new perspective. For example, the plucked sounds like pipa, for example. They can be explored more than in the usual way, as well as the percussion. I think there are some metal instruments which can be used with new performing techniques. This is the point, to use new perspective, a new model of performing with ancient instruments. That could be a great new word of sound.
It's a great combination.
It's a great combination, but also not only for the idea of the sounds that we can join, but also for the poetical idea. So it's a combination that gives a mix between sounds and poetry.
The new music actually has already opened its door to technology. So does it mean that traditional musical instruments will no longer exist in the future?
Well, this was something like a prophecy. In the post-Second World War, the advent of the technologies, many people said, well, this will destroy the traditional instruments. And it's not true. This is not true. Technology is helping to know better and deeper the traditional instruments. So I'm sure that technology will be combined in the future as in a natural way with the traditional instruments, giving new perspective, also giving the possibility to explore better the sound.
Well, I know Sonny is a good friend of yours, and he's worked on many great projects with you, including the pedal piano. I was told by my producer that there's this great instrument that can not only make you smart, but lose weight at the same time, and I've later found out that it's called the pedal piano.
Yes.
Now, is it really what it's made out to be? Tell us.
It's actually a double piano, double-decker piano, two pianos played by one pianist. It's a very interesting instrument coming from the past, because Mozart had one. Mozart wanted a pedal piano and commissioned it to Anton Walter, and Schumann as well wrote many pieces for pedal piano, but then it disappeared. And I was lucky enough to rediscover it, rediscover some music, and have a new instrument to play, and also found an old vintage instrument which I just played here in Beijing in the Italian piano experience.
Now, I know in addition to playing the pedal piano, you are also a great educator of music. You've played ghost concerts, you've performed newly discovered pieces of Mendelssohn. That's very fascinating. So for our viewers who are not used to listening to classical music, what are some of the things that you discovered during this process that might possibly turn people to classical music?
Well, the Mendelssohn was one of my greatest experiences, because I couldn't imagine that still today it was possible to find about 60 compositions by Mendelssohn for piano which were never played before and never recorded. It's like, you know, discovering an incredible treasure of gold and things that you are the first one to touch. And the idea of approaching great art and classical music is that one. I always want to be surprised. I want people who listen to music to be amused, surprised. We are always going to discover something new, even if you are listening to music written 300 years ago. And of course, other things which I like to discover are things which I don't know yet. For example, I'm very much into Chinese traditional music now.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know so much about yet. But I'm so fascinated by the fact that China has such a great traditional history, thousands of years, much more than Italy. And we don't know much about that. For this reason, I'm so happy that in my role of artistic coordinator of a Cremona Musica International Exhibition in Cremona, the Stradivari city, we will host a China Day, a focus on China. We will invite Chinese exhibitors who will present the Chinese traditional instruments and even traditional orchestras from China, for example, from the preschool of the China Conservatory of Music.
Now, how did you come to this idea of hosting the Stradivari Festival in Italy?
Well, Cremona Musica is a great exhibition and festival going on since many, many years. Cremona is the city of Stradivari and Guarneri, so where the best violins have been made. And still today, there is a great tradition in violin making. But Cremona attracts 20,000 people every year in these 3 days of Cremona International Exhibitions. Hundreds of violin makers, piano makers, instrument makers, but also performing arts institutions, music journalists, music lovers. You can go there and touch the instruments and meet people. In today's world of sharing on Facebook, on social media, it's so important to touch physically, to meet people and shake their hands and create a new network and sharing the beauty of music by person.
No doubt a lot of Chinese people will be going there because Italy has one of the highest visitors from China. And so what about Chinese musicians, Chinese music, or Chinese instruments that you would like to tackle in the future? Because you're very into discovery and experimenting.
I look forward in discovering those instruments. I remember I attended a Chinese opera performance here in Beijing some years ago, and I was struck by the importance of silence. Western music is very much about dynamic, drama, something happening all the time, tension, while the tension in Chinese music is still there, but through the silence, through the waiting, through listening to very small nuances. Very fascinating for me.
It's almost like in the Chinese painting where you have all this blank space, and it's in the blank space that you discover the meaning of the painting or of the music. Well, thank you very much, Prosseda, for being here with us today. And good luck with your concert tonight.
And see you soon.
And you're watching CultureExpress on CGTN. We're going to take a short break, but stay with us.
You're actually born in L.A.
I was born in L.A., born and raised in L.A.
And when did you come to China?
I first came in 1997 to Beijing. I just graduated college and I went into a language program for Chinese. As things kind of unfolded in China, it became more of like a jazz performing career.
So this is pretty much a international band.
Yeah. So when you get guys from other places coming in and playing your music, it's a different perspective. So it's great. This really kind of freedom of expression based in very kind of strict discipline, which is really fascinating thing about jazz and the arts in general.
Yeah.
For me, like the best way to learn about somebody is just to play music with them, and just kind of communicate musically. I would say there's nobody that I can really get along with musically that I wouldn't get along with on a personal level.
And you're watching CultureExpress on CGTN. Chinese martial arts has had a long history, and it later became more well-known around the world thanks to icons like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. And amid a trend in the nation to rejuvenate this traditional Chinese art, a martial arts gymnastics showcase was held at the National Olympic Sports Center on this International Children's Day. Song Yaotian has the story.
A rousing lion dance performance to open the event. The Student Martial Arts Gymnastics display is co-organized by China Working Committee for Caring for the Next Generation and the General Administration of Sports of China. Nearly 1,000 children from 17 kindergartens and elementary schools from 5 Chinese cities and provinces attended the display. They are divided into 2 phalanx, with a kindergarten group performing a set titled Chinese Martial Arts Gymnastics and the elementary school students performing The Red Sun Rises from the East. Secretary General of the organizing committee, Wang Tianming, has been a martial arts trainer for more than 20 years and choreographed both performances.
The purpose of this activity is to enable kids to get to know traditional Chinese culture, to learn the values of our ancestors, which weighted both intelligence and physical courage. The process of martial arts training can also increase their health and physical strength, and to let more children learn the charm and spirit of martial arts.
This is part of a larger event that involves more than 1 million children from around China. On the morning of May the 30th, over 1 million children in 160 cities showcased their martial arts moves at the same time in celebration of International Children's Day, which falls on June the 1st.
Our kindergarten has been involved in martial arts training for 4 to 5 years. Martial arts has many functions. First, it brings happiness to the kids. Practicing it can strengthen their body, and it can raise their ability of self-protection. For example, how to buffer or avoid possible damage when falling down. Practicing martial arts can also help build up their confidence, especially performing moves on a big stage like this.
This showcase also displays how martial arts education has been fruitful among China's younger generation. Martial arts is a method of both self-defense and physical exercise. It is among the traditions that Chinese are most proud of. This massive display of martial arts gymnastics by children is showing that the next generation of Chinese will also cherish the tradition and carry it forward.
In southern China's boomtown of Shenzhen, local kids are gathering to mark the International Children's Day. At a public display on Thursday, school kids demonstrated their mastery of age-old traditions and the latest technologies. Check it out.
With a full regalia of stage costumes and makeup, these children put on a performance of local Cantonese opera. Most under 10 years old, the young performers have been learning the stage tradition for 2 years. Also showcased were handicraft skills. The boys and girls from a local English language primary school worked together to construct a collection of beautiful kites.
Such work needs a lot of cooperation. Like when you are tying up the framework, several of us have to work together. We like the traditional culture. We have found it very interesting. I especially like the detailed patterns.
Alongside the age-old handicrafts, also highlighted was the mastery of some of the latest technologies, ranging from unmanned aerial vehicles to artificial intelligence robots. A team of artistically inclined teenagers even converted daily junk into musical instruments.
The guitar's body is actually built from paperboard cartons. Rather than discard them, we've managed to make them into useful objects. The control panel here carries the audio conversion program. We wrote the code by ourselves. Above it is the circuit board. You can see the wiring. Just touch these keys, you will hear the music.
With a population of more than 10 million, Shenzhen is known as China's biggest migrant city. Local children are encouraged to embrace the diversity of the city's varied culture. 丁思月 CGTN.
Meanwhile, kids in Shanghai have a chance to play with some of their favorite cartoon characters at a couple of exhibitions marking International Children's Day. Sun Caixing takes a look.
In Hongkou District, kindergarten children were riding robocar Polly to learn traffic rules. While they certainly have fun driving the tour cars, they also learn about the importance of road signs and traffic lights. An organizer said robocar Polly is playing in 33 countries, including China. The show's characters, including Polly the police car, Roy the fire truck, and Amber the pink ambulance van. Kids even got to dress up like a police officer, firefighter, or nurse.
I know I'm wearing a firefighter's costume. Their job is to put out a fire.
I picked this costume because I want to be a nurse when I grow up.
It teaches traffic rules to children, so they can understand the importance of following the rules when driving, walking on the road and biking. We prefer to use this type of cartoon image for kids rather than some extreme cartoons with violence.
Children also watched the animated video of traffic rules inside a school bus. Near Xingtiandi, an indoor playground with cartoon characters SpongeBob, Paw Patrol, and Dora the Explorer had kids rather excited.
My favorite character is Chase in Paw Patrol.
SpongeBob is quite popular, but we also bought Paw Patrol, Ninja Turtles, and Dora the Explorer to build up this playland. Paw Patrol has reached over 2.5 billion views on Chinese online streaming websites.
Both exhibitions were run until mid-August. Sun Caixing, ICS for CGTN, Shanghai.
A new exhibit in Los Angeles shows the artistic evolution of puppeteer Jim Henson from slapstick puppet TV ads to Sesame Street to Labyrinth. Take a look.
The exhibit includes items from a permanent collection at New York's Museum of the Moving Image, as well as newly restored puppets from Henson's early days. Henson's daughter Lisa, who is now CEO of the Jim Henson Company, said the exhibit shows her father's personality by including all parts of his creative process.
I mean, being a puppeteer, he's the ultimate behind-the-scenes artist. Like, he's not an easy person to get to know just from watching the finished work. So you almost have to have a creative archaeologist kind of reveal him to you.
The exhibit at the Skirball Cultural Center includes more than 100 objects, including storyboards of Henson's slapstick early television advertisements. More than 25 original puppets are also on display. While Henson is best known for the mostly wholesome Sesame Street, the exhibit also highlights some of his quirkier, adult-focused films.
And, you know, he was the most famous puppeteer in America, and Kermit and he are kind of synonymous with each other. But he was very ambitious creatively in other ways besides puppetry.
The Jim Henson exhibition, Imagination Unlimited, opens on Friday, June the 1st, 2018, and runs through September the 2nd at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. CGTN.
And that's all for today's CultureExpress. To celebrate International Children's Day, we'll leave you today to some cute kits. I'm Julian Walken in Beijing. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more CGTN news coming up next.